Make sure we don't cuss anybody out.
Like who, Greg?
I know that their new studio is COVID friendly.
Whose?
Jeopardy.
Oh, is it?
They're more separated.
I thought you meant ours.
I already got chewed out for that earlier today. I watch you guys on your show. You guys aren't very COVID friendly. Yeah, we get tested before every episode.
Yeah.
Right, you guys are living in a bubble.
Yep.
We
We are. So when I went outside before the show,
Yeah.
and even driving in, I realized, so like every fifth person I see, or every, like out of 5 people, 4 of them have masks on walking around outside.
Yeah, I never understood that.
I think that's crazier than driving in a car by yourself wearing a mask. I don't know which is worse. They're both horrible. You're outside.
Yeah. I just there've been I'll admit it. There's been a couple of times when you walk out of a grocery store and I got my hands full and you get in the car and you start driving and you're like, "Oh, I'm still wearing the mask."
I take it off immediately.
Well, usually
within seconds.
Usually I do, but sometimes you got your hands full, but never am I like driving along and it's like conscious that I'm like, "Oh, I need this on."
No, and that's what they're doing though. That's the thing.
Yeah.
That's what's crazy. Yeah, walk it. Yeah. It's okay.
Everyone's going to be fine.
I don't have to live that life.
No.
So who you voting for? Tune in to GBG to get all of his thoughts on politics.
I love that you were explaining to Brandon on his show. Yeah, Greg usually gets a little out there on politics. I keep it within the first 10 minutes on sports, and then somehow I find a transition into what's going wrong in our society and how I can fix it.
Sure.
Single-handedly.
Yeah, no, I know. I watched the show.
Here's what's wrong with all of you and how I can fix it.
Just listen to GBG. I talked to Benz earlier. He was about to make a steak. He never called me back.
I just saw on Facebook that Taylor and her sisters are getting their nails done.
Ooh.
They're at some sort of a salon.
Okay.
All right. And then it looks like we have Erin, so we will get this show kicked off.
Great.
Erin, how are you doing?
Oh, she can't hear us. She can't hear. She has as many degrees as I do.
Shut up, Greg. Yeah.
She's trying to.
There we go.
There we go.
Nice.
All right, well, let's kick off this show. Let's get that intro going.
What do you get when you put 2 Minnesotans and a guy from Wisconsin together? Twist. The Weekend Sports Talk. Get ready for some sports chatter where there's sure to be laughing, arguing, and maybe even crying. Now, here are your hosts, Mike Reese, Matt Benz, and Greg Green Bay Bauman.
Welcome in. We are at MBC Studios in Northeast Minneapolis.
Nice.
Hi, Greg.
How you doing?
I'm doing great, man. No Benzie. Just
I know.
Me and you again.
I know the guy's going off and getting himself married.
Yeah. At least when I miss, you guys just stay at home. But when one of you misses, we still get in the studio.
Yeah. I don't know why we did that. It just seemed like
Whatever.
a.
So episode 40.
40.
Mike Allstott.
That's old school.
Mike Allstott. So
Tampa
the
Bay
only time I've ever been to a Vikings game not wearing all purple was during the Mike Allstott era. I wore a Mike Allstott jersey and a Vikings hat.
Nice.
So he was my idol. Funny story, and I had posted this. You and I talked about this earlier. So in high school, I was a linebacker for football. And there was a guy a year ahead of me, Matt Herman, white running back, like fullback, wore the number 40. Hell of a player. They had Eric Clinton was kind of the speedy back, and Diesel was like the refrigerator Perry.
Got it.
And so when he graduated, I'm like, this is my time to shine. I'm going to be the new, white guy wearing number 40, and I'm going to be Mike Allstott. And so I show up during the summer, and I go with the running backs. And my linebackers coach, Reeves, what are you doing? Get over here, linebackers. I'm like, Coach, I want to score touchdowns. This is my time. No, linebackers. So needless to say,
Very short-lived career at running back.
yeah, I never scored a touchdown in my life besides for, backyard football and stuff like that. But
Nice.
yeah, we got a great Thursday edition show lined up for you. We have 2 interviews, one with the Colts-Vikings matchup. But first, we have Dr. Erin Shannon. She's a holistic practitioner with more than 22 degrees. You're only going to see a few here in a second, but believe me, if we could see the widescreen, you would see all 22 of them in both Eastern and Western medicine. So let's bring Erin on and dive into some fun facts about her and her life.
Erin, can you hear us?
I hear you, boys.
Fantastic.
Y'all sound like hockey players.
Well, it's from Minnesota, and
Minnesota and Wisconsin.
you try to hide the
Yeah.
accent, it ain't gonna happen.
It sounds like you're playing football. You were playing football like hockey players. You wanted to score your defense, bro.
Yeah, well, my linebackers coach thought the same thing, but I like to score, so it just doesn't always go my way.
It doesn't always work out for you.
No, I keep trying though.
Yeah, keep on trying, bud.
Well, we appreciate you coming on with us.
Yeah, no problem.
So yeah, I touched on it a little bit. You're 22 degrees.
It's actually 30, but
30. Well, your website said
slow.
okay.
Okay.
Now it's a lot more than what I have.
Yeah,
To my one.
8 more than I have. So your ability to help athletes, one prominent broadcaster recover from injury and improve the mental side of the game has drawn players from around the world to seek your help, huh?
One prominent broadcaster? Maybe. I don't know. I don't know what did it, but I try, if it works, it works, and all they care about is getting back on the field. So, it doesn't matter about the degrees. It doesn't matter about anything. They don't care. Just fix it. So we just fix it. I think if I have one addiction, it's learning. And I feel like it's my job to know as many things as I can because everybody's going to come in with a different problem, and there's always a different solution to fix the problem. So if I am the person that they're coming to fix something, I need to learn anything and everything I can and have as many tools in my toolbox. And so I just keep learning because there's always something new, right? There's always a new method. So it's not about the degrees or anything. It's just about me learning everything I can. So when somebody comes in, I've got as many tools in my toolbox to offer to them. And that's my job. It's not like, oh, this is the therapy I do, so I have to fix you into my, my methodology. No, it's about me having as many tools at my disposal so that when you come in, I can have you walk out that day feeling better and fixing you that day.
Do you ever take into account, based on what you just said, do you ever take into account like your client or your patient's personal, whether it's spiritual, religious beliefs into how you would incorporate some sort of a holistic treatment to them? Or is it just based on their injury?
So I grew up in the Midwest. My dad is, Mike Shannon. He's a very meat and potatoes guy. I didn't believe, I grew up Roman Catholic, but I was very Western medicine. Mm-hmm. And I think Western medicine pretty much beat the God out of me. So if you would have asked me when I was in school, if I would have done anything but, look at the brain and tell you what's wrong with you based on your brain and your cytoarchitecture and the features of your brain, I would have told you that you were crazy. So the fact that my practice is the way it is now, I'm the most disbelieving person in the world. I saw some things that I would have never believed possible when my mom was dying of a brain tumor. And it took that kind of extreme example for me to break out of my Western medicine box. But every day in my office, things happen that I can't believe. And I think I still am the most disbelieving person in the world. For me, it's always about science. And I think quantum physics explains almost everything that happens. I don't go into religion and I don't go into spirituality. And so I don't ever make it about that. You know, I hid what I do for a very long time because it made me nervous. It was my players and my managers and the GMs that kind of outed me because I thought it was weird. It is weird because in the West, we don't talk about this stuff.
Yeah.
But in professional sports, it's accountability and availability, and it's getting back on the field, and nobody cares. But call it what you want, it works. And the funny thing is, you know, here in the Midwest, right, we are in kind of I'm in the show me state. Literally, that's what we call it, the show me state. Show me. My biggest referral sources are hospitals and doctors. And, you know, I treated one patient that was a professional athlete, but I made him promise not to tell anybody. And the next day, you know, fixed his shoulder, he pitched that night. The next day, I got 20 guys in my office, and then I got the manager calling saying, get your ass down here and let's go. And we had the greatest comeback in the history of baseball and won the World Series. And then after that, I was over. And it seems like I'm the kind of worst to first guy, gal, whatever you want to call me. And so it happened organically. I don't advertise. I don't, you know, it's crazy stuff. But if you look at quantum physics, it makes sense. So religion and spirituality, for me, that's a personal thing. And it's like gravity. You don't have to believe in it. You don't have to see it. You don't have to smell it or taste it, but that shit works.
Yep.
It doesn't matter about it if you believe in it or not. It's the same stuff that happens here. I can't explain it all the time, but it works every single time. So life is funny, and that's where I find myself today.
So you do have a great back. So you mentioned your dad, Mike Shannon. So what was it like growing up with a dad in the major leagues? You know, played, I believe, an 11-year career, and then basically 3 decades, you know, calling games with Jack Buck. How was that?
You know, people ask me all the time, like, what's it like to have your dad, Mike Shannon? I don't know. It's the only dad I've had, right? But, you know, he's the kind of guy that, you know, throws you to the wolves. You better come back leading the pack or not. So I don't know. That's just how I spent my life. He is exactly what, you know, he is who he is. He's toughest guy probably I've ever met. And I remember one year I got done a little bit early with school in high school, and I was bored, and he said, well, why don't you just come with us? So I traveled with the team that year. I was 16, and like, you know, I was had a room everywhere we traveled, and that ended up being the year that we had the strike. And I remember picking up the phone in my room, and it was Tom Pagnazzi, and he called and he said, I need to talk to your dad, but I want to call you first. And he told me what was going to happen. And I think that was probably the year that I learned more than anything in my life. Learning how to get that team together, learning how to, you know, coordinate things. It was crazy. Now I have kids. I have 6 kids. I have kids that are 15, 17. And to think about them doing what I did at that age blows my mind, right? But I think I was born an old soul, and I think my dad felt that. And so I had I guess an interesting life looking from the outside in now as a mom myself, but it was just the way I grew up. I guess I grew up an old soul, and I think I've always just been who I am. I never grew up to be a sports psychologist, ever. I didn't know what I wanted to be, and I kind of fell into it. But for me, I feel more at home in an NFL locker room than I do anywhere else. My tribe of people are the people that I fit in with. I don't look like those people. But that's where I'm most comfortable. I am most comfortable, with a dip in my mouth, sitting with those guys than I am, at a PTA meeting. That is for sure.
Yeah.
So I don't know how to explain it. That's just who I am.
So through the kind of locker rooms and the experience with your job, is that how you met your husband? So your husband's Greg Williams, defensive coordinator, New York Jets. Did you guys meet through kind of your work and the kind of the stuff you're doing with the players?
Yeah, so that's a funny story. So my brother, Tim Shannon, played at USC. Jeff Fisher was his roommate. So 2011, Cardinals won the World Series. And Jeff got hired with the Rams. So I guess Tim called Jeff and said, you probably need to talk to Erin. I'm the baby sister by like 9 years of the 6. He said, you need to talk to baby Erin because she does some stuff. You just should talk to her. So I happened to be at dinner one night, and Jeff and Mr. Kroenke and Demoff were at a table. You know how just weird things happen. And so he walks over and, says he's taking the job, and Tim called me and whatever. So it's kind of the last thing in the world I wanted. I'm still trying to hide, right?
Yeah.
I remember there was a USA Today article that said something like, what's going on with the Cardinals and all this weird stuff they're doing and all these weird necklaces and all this stuff. And so like, I'm still hiding. So, but I am the little sister. So I do what my big brother says. My big brother says to go down there. So I go down there. So I don't know Greg. I don't know him at all, but Jeff convinces me to go down. And then he says, all right, come tour the facility. He says, here's your office. So I walk into this office. It's this huge office. I'm not an idiot. You don't put your shrink, who's going to do your draft and your 30-minute interviews, in some ridiculous huge office right across from the head coach and give her all this stuff. Plus, I feel some kind of mojo in this office. So I walk across and I said, whose office is this? He's like, it's your office. Isn't it nice? Tell your brother I gave you a nice office. I said, no. Whose office is this? So he's not listening to me. So I took a stapler and threw it across until he listened. And the poor secretary, who was an angel, I love her, she's like, don't throw staplers. So he comes in, he goes, just burn some sage. It's Greg Williams' office. I said, I quit. So Blake Williams, who is now, my son-in-law, my stepson, is next door, right? Mm-hmm. So the man's not allowed in the facility per Goodell. That's crooked to me, like that. And so I didn't meet him for months, right? Because he's not allowed in the facility. So, so they put me in his office the day after he got suspended. Months and months and months later, I'm, treating players. I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. And somebody knocks on my door at my office. And my assistant says, there's somebody sitting in your waiting room. And I've got a player in my office. I'm still cooking. Sorry, my assistant's trying to hold me straight. I got to fix your knees straight.
You're doing great.
And so, it's Greg. And the player that's in my office, they can't, crisscross. So I come out and I say, who are you? He says who he is. I said, you need to get out. He said, I need to know what you're doing to my players. And I said, they're not your players. I got a job. You don't. Get out. So it was a contentious, it took a while, but that's how we met. So it's quite interesting. But apparently, he grew up in Missouri, and he used to pretend that, he played ball. He was a good athlete. He played ball in his backyard when he was a kid. He used to pretend he was my dad or Bob Gibson. So I really think he just, jersey chased me.
I would tend to agree. So you mentioned 2011 when the Cardinals were in the World Series. Was that when you and Joe Buck then ran into each other when he was there calling the World Series and was dealing with the vocal issues, or was that a different year?
Well, I grew up with Joe. Joe's like my brother.
Yep.
So I grew up with him. I saw him. I guess we were in, I don't remember what round we were in. and I saw him and he was walking in to do something, and I said, I don't know, can I curse on this or what?
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. If you obviously didn't watch too much of the show, because you would know, Erin.
I got 6 kids. What do you do?
Yeah.
I said, what is wrong with you, bro? Like, you have cancer? What's wrong? Like, he looked awful, and that's my brother. So he's like, thanks a lot. And then my dad does a radio show he used to do a radio show after the game, goes till like 2 a.m. And so I said, well, let me know what's wrong, if you need anything, whatever. So I get a text at like 1:15, and we're getting ready to go to Texas, to the Rangers. And he texts me and he goes, something's wrong. I said, duh. And he said, can you really fix it? And I said, I don't know what's wrong, but yeah, I think I can fix it, Joe. He said, well, I heard a little bit about what's going on with you. I said, well, that makes me mad that you heard it because you're not supposed to talk about it, but if you want me to fix it. And he goes, can you be, there's a private airport and the jet, he was doing Fox, right?
Yep.
So the jet flew out at 4:15. He goes, can you be there? And I said, well, yeah, my family, my dad, they call him the Moon Man because he never sleeps. So I said, yeah, we'll be out of here by 3. I can be there. So, I drive out to the airport and I get on the jet. I didn't know who was on the jet. I didn't know anything. So I guess the first guy on this side is the head of Fox Sports. I don't know who that is. And there's a couple other guys. And then my uncle Tim Carver, who played with my dad, is there. I said, hey, Tim. And then Troy Aikman is there, who I didn't particularly like because my brother's a Trojan. So, and then there's Joe. So I walk on and I don't think anybody knew who I was except for Uncle Tim, and I don't know. And so I sat down and he's like, so how are you going to fix? I said, just let me start. And so I started, I just started. And so before we took off, and I think he writes this in the book. That's the only reason I can talk about it, because he outed me hard in the book. It started to move, which they told him it would never move again, his vocal cords. And so he says, holy, it's moving. I can feel it. And, I don't know, people started crying, he's basically a big thing in Fox Sports, right? But he's just my brother, Joe. So
yeah,
I'm going to fix him. I'm going to help him. He's my brother. But it meant a lot to the guy in the front who I didn't know who that was. So anyway, so we fixed it. And, but I stayed with him the rest of that run, which was easy because Cardinals were there and he was there, so I could do everything. And then I guess what was interesting that run was that when we went to play the Rangers that day, he and Troy had to get in a golf cart. So after that game, we got in a golf cart and we went across, and the Rams were playing across the road, right? Mm-hmm. So I had to go over there and follow them over there. So that was my first, and I was still kind of in that, I don't know, I have to get in this zone to do this stuff. And so I felt football for the first time while I was in the zone of having my hands do my thing. And that was really interesting to me. So I think that got me a little prepped to do what Jeff came along and asked me to do the Rams. I knew that I could because I went downstairs, and the way that stadium is set up, the Jerry Dome is set up, I was down and I was underneath right behind where the Rams stood. And I knew a couple of those guys just for family friends. And so I was standing right behind them, and I could see stuff that was wrong with them. The way I work, I can see certain things inside and feel them. And so I could fix them. And they were turning around and trying to figure out what was going on because they could feel me. So it was almost like that was my precursor to knowing that I could, do that too. So that was just an interesting little day.
So I have a list of all the different services provided to teams and athletes that I got off your website, and it's,
My website is a little, I try to skirt around the issue.
No, and I understand. So I'm just reading a couple of them. So the one that I really have to ask about is the hypnosis and subliminal reprogramming? Is that as simple as hypnotizing Greg here and turning him in, from a Packer fan to a Viking fan, or?
Yeah, no, I don't mess with him.
Then it could happen.
Yeah, I don't play with him.
Yeah,
He is weird.
subliminal reprogramming, though.
Yeah, so there's a couple of things that really. I'm going to tell you something. Athletes are my favorite people to work with because they're kinesthetic geniuses. So kinesthetic means body, right? Took me a long time to get up the courage to tell my dad what I did, which was stupid because my dad, I didn't know how to tell him. And I remember LaRussa telling me, I said, you tell him. And he said, no, you got to tell him. I said, no, you got to tell him. And so I didn't know how to tell him because I thought he was going to think I was crazy. I thought everybody was going to think I was crazy. And the funny thing is athletes just get it. They get it because it is what they do. So I didn't know how to tell him. So I had him, it's the dumbest thing ever. I had him sit down with me and watch this movie called The Secret, which is this.
Oh, I've seen it.
All right. So imagine me and Mike Shannon, all right, sitting down. I'm sitting next to him watching. I was thinking he was going to fall asleep and ask for popcorn, right? So he's in there and the movie's over and I just look at him and he goes, what? You didn't know that shit? I said, what? He goes, are you telling me that you did not know that shit? And he said, let me ask you a question. How do you think that your Uncle Stan and your Uncle Bob and Uncle Roger and everybody that you grew up around did anything that we did? He goes, for the smartest person that I know, you've got to be the dumbest on earth. And then he got up and walked out. So that was our conversation about it.
So he already knew.
Yeah.
Of course, he said, I don't talk about it like those hippies do, but he goes, when you were a little girl in spring training and I would go to the dog track and I would come in and I would ask you to give me numbers, then I would come home with all that money and give it to you. That's that.
Yep.
He said, when Uncle Stan would talk about the lines that he would see and the tunnel that he would see, what do you think that is? He said, we all have that. He said, normal people don't understand that. So if you use that to fix that, just do it. He said, it's just normal for us.
Yeah.
So, I got it. But I'm not going to cry, but the fact that literally I was laying like this with my hands on my mom when she passed away. And I didn't know that. And everybody can do stuff like this, but we're taught we can't, right? Because of big pharma. People fly in from all over the world and I put my hands on them and fix things. And here I am with my hands laying on my mom. I didn't know. That's not right. People should know that there are other things. Medicine's great, surgery's great. My kids get vaccinated. We go to the doctor, right? I love medicine. It's amazing. It's miraculous. But there's other things too. And we should know about those things. And it's wrong that we don't.
Yeah, I think a lot of us probably never will, and that's powerful stuff. I appreciate you opening up and sharing with us there.
Yeah.
And I think that that's all of our job is to be our own researchers, because there's a lot of money to be made in medicine. It's a $3 billion a year industry just for migraine headaches, and there's an acupressure point to fix them. There's quarterbacks that have migraine headaches and it makes them blind. Mm-hmm. There's a point to fix. But if you're making $3 billion a year and you're a company, you don't want people to know about that, right?
Yeah.
No, it's why
So-
cancer, there'll never be a cure, I'm sure.
There's a lot of cures already.
So for our everyday type listener, Mike, my dad, they've been real big on losing weight through intermittent fasting and then massive carb reduction. My one question to you is,
Yeah.
what's the best advice you could give to someone who lost a considerable amount of weight, got to their target weight, and how can they maintain that?
So there's acupressure points. You got to kind of find it. I'm going to show you. Well, let me tell you, 99% of stuff is here in your brain, right? And there are 2 points here. Push it down a little bit. So there are 2 points. If you find your belly button and you go about an inch out, these are, let's see if I can, here's my belly button. And I go a little bit out, and there's 2 points here. Those are your cortisol points. All of us are in cortisol overload and adrenal fatigue, okay? And you can look this stuff up, okay? There's also a point in if you feel around, there's 2 of your ribs that are kind of floating, not attached, right? And what we call the intercostal space in between your ribs. And everybody's a little bit different, but you feel, go ahead, both you boys, feel on yourself, okay? Find in between the second intercostal space, feel in between your ribs, you'll find a real sore spot.
Yeah.
If you find it,
Yep.
mine's like right here. Some people are up here a little further.
Yeah, mine's right there.
I got it.
You got it?
Yep.
And it's sore, right?
Yep.
You rub the shit out of that thing. Every time, after every meal, every time you take medicine, you rub that hard, okay? This is the spleen meridian. So all of us, and this is Eastern medicine, there's like a wheel, and each meridian is on opposite sides of the wheel. We are all stuck in this fight or flight state, right? We're all stressed out, running around and trying to avoid our stuff. You can spend 100 years in psychotherapy and talk about it all day, but you got to have it in here, right? It's stuck in your body. It's trapped. Every cell in your body is coated with something called enkephalins, and every cell holds memory. So you can know what's wrong, but it's still there, and that's why it doesn't work. You have to release it from the cells, okay? That's why we keep re-injuring ourselves, or we keep repeating the same pattern. We keep going in the same relationships. We're finding the same toxic assholes over and over and over again, right? So that thing is sore because the spleen meridian is your nurturing, mothering, niceness meridian. We don't really talk nice to ourselves. We might say nice things to other people, but we're really not nice to ourselves, especially women. Women are terrible to themselves. Guys, sometimes. The opposite side is the fight or flight meridian, which is called triple warmer. So we're always stuck in this, especially in the West, cortisol, adrenal overload, exhaustion. That's why we're always drinking coffee. We're taking uppers, downers, right? So every time you eat and you want your metabolism to go up so that you metabolize, rub that sucker. Every time you take medicine and you want the medicine to really get in your system instead of just peeing it out, rub it. Every time you have an interaction, an emotional interaction with somebody that doesn't feel great and you want to metabolize it and get that out, rub it. Weight will fall off. You reset your metabolism.
Wow.
The cortisol and adrenal points are here, and you can reset those. This is all just energy medicine. It's not rocket science. But ours is all out of whack because we don't pay attention. We cut our body off. So, we're so out of touch with our body that we can't feel it. So then we take one medicine for this, which causes side effects for that. So we got to take something for the side effects. I'm not anti-medicine at all. I'm common sense. Like, instead of treating the symptoms, let's get down to the root of the problem and yank the root out so that we don't have the symptoms.
Yeah.
And these poor doctors in the West, we got 5 minutes for something and we have a specialty. So one guy's treating this, one guy's treating that, one guy's treating this, but the root of the problem is way down here. Mm-hmm. So what I would say, when you're fasting, your body thinks it's starving, so it stores. right? We forget how to feed ourselves based on hunger signals. So our ghrelin in our brain and everything gets messed up. We're getting so messed up that we got to do all this stuff to trick ourselves. And we don't trust ourselves anymore. When is the last time somebody just ate because they're hungry and drank because they're thirsty? And we get on these stupid schedules, we don't listen to our body. So then we get all messed up. We got to regulate again to get to a point where we can trust ourselves. But we don't trust ourselves and we don't trust anybody else. And then what happens? Cortisol goes up and we're screwed.
This is fascinating.
I know. Well, I definitely appreciate you coming on. We've been chatting over the past few days, and I definitely want to keep you in our wheelhouse for future stuff, and I feel like we could just create a whole new podcast just for stuff like this. I mean, it's crazy, and you know, I appreciate you coming on and sharing just minute decimal point of all that you do.
Yeah, well, we know about this much about the body, but the body knows pretty much everything about ourselves. So, if we can trust ourselves a little bit, if people want to know more about stuff, look into energy medicine stuff. Like one of all these degrees is Eden Energy Medicine, and that's on innersource.com. My website is just my name, Dr. Erin Shannon .com. So, I just want to give my job, I feel like, is to make people not my patients anymore. I don't see people for 20 years. I see people for a few sessions. I give them the tools and then send them off. So it's about figuring out what you need to do so that you can fix yourself. And that's all it is.
Wow.
So, my website has a whole ton of links so that people can find the information they need. And it's so simple. It's crazy. It shouldn't be that simple, right? We think it's going to be complicated. We need to go to specialists and take pills, and maybe sometimes we do, and that's fine. But daily health is in our own hands, and it's really our job to do it. And right now, especially, maybe that's what this pandemic is about, teaching us that we really need to take a minute and look at what we need to do ourselves for us and our kids.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with that. Yeah. So that's drerinshannon.com. Well, we appreciate it, Erin. I'll stay in contact, and hopefully we can have you on the show again.
Thanks, guys.
I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, take care.
Thanks, guys. Thanks. See you.
I told you.
I know.
I told you.
It was funny when you said who's coming on. I was reading up on her, and there's not enough time in the day to read up on all the things that she's accomplished. And
no, I mean it's crazy.
It's fascinating. I mean, you have that list there.
And this isn't even anything. It's like, some of the stuff that she was getting into. It's just like, yeah, I mean, opening up stuff. Have you ever seen The Secret?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So
it's some crazy shit.
Yeah. I think it's cool when she refers to Uncle Tim and Uncle Stan, and I'm sitting there like she's talking about Bob Gibson, Stan Musial, Tim McCarver.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. LaRussa just kept telling me, it's like that's Tony LaRussa.
Tony LaRussa, yeah. Yeah, that was great. Now I got my dad in here. I need to make an appointment.
I figured I was gonna say, I bet you Chief is watching right now.
That's why I mentioned that.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, what? He's gonna want to do something every day to maintain all the work that you guys have all done.
Yeah. And like she said though, Chief, 99%'s up here. So yeah, you're gonna do some pressure points and stuff like that, but. You gotta stop talking down to yourselves. We have to stop talking down to ourselves, America.
Yep. Remember, we only know this much about the body, but the body knows everything about us.
Right. All right. Well, that was awesome. Tevin, what do we got going on here?
So, definitely.
Where'd he go?
Uh-oh. There we go.
Tevin took a nap.
Sorry, we had a little technical difficulty.
Oh,
back here,
no
but
worries.
But we're back. And now do we want to jump into the Colts-Vikings preview week for week 2?
Yeah. Let's do it.
All right. So we have an interview that was previously done with Kevin Bowen.
I'm going to go take a piss.
What's up, Twist Nation? We got a great interview lined up for you covering the Vikings and the Colts Week 2 matchup this week. We're going to bring on Kevin Bowen of 1070 The Fan, covering all things Colts. How's it going, Kevin?
What's up, Mike? Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, appreciate you coming on. We're just a couple of fellas that like to cover winless teams, apparently.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, the Colts still want to be kind of in the preview mode when everyone was thinking they were the favorite in the AFC South and whatnot. So, yeah, we both can empathize, I think, with the fan base and an ugly Week 1 performance by both teams.
Yeah, I was extremely high on the Colts. I know Matt Ben's one of the hosts of Twist here. We both had him in our top 10 kind of preseason deals with the acquisition of Phillip Rivers. Do you still think that was a good signing by the Colts? Were you excited about that? Do you think they could have gone another way?
You know, it was a short-term fix. I think it was an upgrade over Jacoby Brissett. I know some people look at his Week 1 performance and they're like, "Oh, that was terrible. That was an F." And you know, people need to look at that entire 60 minutes of football and realize Rivers did do a lot of good in that game. You know, nearly 80% passing, over 360 yards. I mean, those are numbers that the Colts never sniffed really last year with Jacoby Brissett under center. So again, short-term fix. It's an improvement. You know, is it going to get the quarterback play was last year, what it can be this year, and then obviously, which this franchise really hasn't had many issues with it over the past 2 decades. Quarterback, and maybe you sat there at 13 and instead of trading out of the 13th pick back in April, you know, maybe you're taking a Jordan Love or you're trying to trade up to get Herbert or Tua. But all in all, you know, I think it made sense on paper. But still, this is a middle-of-the-pack quarterback at this point of his career, and I think we just got to be realistic with where we're looking at things.
So you don't look at Jacob Eason as the next guy lined up? You know, I was high on him for the Vikings. I like his size. I like his arm. You know, quarterbacks like him, that third tier kind of, they fell extremely late. And when the Colts grabbed him, I'm like, that's a great idea. They just got Phillip. He can sit for a year or two and then transition in. Is that not really what the Colts are trying to do with him?
You know, he's an option, but I kind of want to pump the brakes, and the Colts definitely want to pump the brakes. I'm just saying Jacob Eason, potential, you know, franchise quarterback, you know, you're just going to hand the keys to him. I think no preseason this year absolutely stunts his growth big time. You know, when you look at I think there are 11 or 12 quarterbacks drafted this year. He had the second fewest games started in college football of any of those quarterbacks. Now, that can be looked at one of two ways. You know, he's got a very high ceiling still, or he really needs game reps to fine-tune the processing, the disguising that you're going to see in the NFL, different system. I mean, he's only started 1 year, you know, since 2016, that true freshman season at Georgia. So, but I just think he needs game reps at some point. You know, I've been an advocate if the season kind of goes the other way and Rivers starts to struggle, I'd throw Eason into the fire and just say he's the guy that has the higher ceiling. He's on this team, you know, contractually for 4 years. Jacoby Brissett is not. So there's potential. I mean, when you watch him throw in practice, it's, you know, it's picturesque. It's stuff you can't teach. So I thought it was a smart move by the Colts. But at the same time, if you get to April and the right quarterback is sitting there, or you feel like you can have a trade package a la Kansas City, a la Houston a few years ago, there's no reason you should hesitate on moving up.
You know, the conventional way in the NFL is to draft for best person available, not for need. Now, the Colts and the Rams both had 2 second-round picks, no first-rounders, and I think drafted for position, you know, wants. In the Colts way, I think you probably did draft for best, you know, available with Jonathan Taylor and Michael Pittman. The Rams definitely filled 2 needs that they lost in the offseason with the running back in the Rams. Let's start with Michael Pittman. 6'4", coming out of USC, kind of a Mike Evans body type. They were really high on him during training camp and 2 catches for 10 yards in the first game. What are the expectations for him through, you know, the Vikings game and throughout the season?
Yeah, you know, a little up and down training camp for him. He was known for his hands at USC and struggled with a few drops. So the 2 targets, you know, that didn't shock me at all. I think he played around half the offensive snaps in week 1. That's kind of what I expected. You know, Paris Campbell is a guy this staff is extremely high on. He out-snapped and out-targeted T.Y. Hilton. I don't think many people would have expected that in week 1. And then you have Zach Pascal, a guy that they just really like as a trustworthy blocker. You know, just kind of a ho-hum player, but the staff really likes him. So those 4 guys will kind of rotate in and out and the top of that depth chart. But like you said, I mean, Pittman's frame speaks for itself. It's something Phillip Rivers has always had. is that bigger body wideout. And it's something the Colts, I think, desperately needed to diversify that room. Hilton's 5'9", Campbell's a little bit on the shorter side, and it's more the speed guy. So I think it was paramount for this team to get that bigger body wideout, a guy that hopefully, you can, kind of post up and throw some 50-50 balls to and be effective in third down and in the red zone. So just a little bit of a slower camp than maybe people expected. I thought him and Taylor both two of the more NFL-ready guys when you were talking 2020 draft. I mean, Pittman played for, several offensive coordinators, several quarterbacks at USC, had a 1,000-yard season, over 100 catches with a true freshman this past season. And then Taylor, I don't need to rattle off his resume. I think folks in your neck of the woods certainly know what he did in college. Here locally, Purdue and IU fans are like, oh my, there's the guy that absolutely torched us year in and year out at Wisconsin. So, and now we're going to see Taylor, in that starting role probably for the rest of the season.
We're talking with Kevin Bowen. You can find him on Twitter at KBowen1070, the fan, covering all things Indianapolis Colts. So let's keep with the rookies. One of the biggest rookie names and probably names in the NFL right now is Jonathan Taylor with the Achilles injury to Marlon Mack. Taylor's coming a little earlier than expected to take over that 1A role. It's not going to be all his, though, as we saw last week with Nyheim Hines. What do you think the split looks like there, and what's your projection for Taylor for the season?
Yeah, I'd say one of the more surprising things about the Colts week one is seeing Nyheim Hines touch the ball 15 times and get, 7 or 8 carries. It's one thing where the staff wants to use him on third down. They like kind of, he is the hybrid gadgety, played some receiver at NC State, but still I was surprised by how much he just flat out carried the ball as a running back in week one. I think this is Jonathan Taylor's workload, though, moving forward. I still think Hines, when Mack has been hurt in previous seasons, Hines has still kind of been primarily that third down guy, and it's been Taylor, or it's been some other guy that's taken the bulk of that kind of first and second down duties. And when you draft a running back at 41, I mean, Vikings fans know when you draft a running back high, you got to throw him into the fire. I mean, you don't know how many years this guy is going to be playing for you. And like I said, Taylor, I think, is one of the more NFL ready-made skill guys, and averaged over 20 carries a game in college. So I think he should be able to handle, a 15 to 20 carry type of workload here on Sunday. I mean, he carried it 9 times in week one and didn't see the field really until week 3 or until series 3. So I see him being that lead back. Still have Hines kind of in that sprinkle, third down role, and maybe Jordan Wilkins, who's a guy that has had some nice moments when called upon. He could kind of be, maybe a series or 2 throughout the course of the game. But they love Taylor's home run ability. Their biggest play in week one was a screen to Taylor, and he just took off in the open field and showed off that 4.3, 40-yard dash speed. So the home run ability is there. Didn't see it as a runner. It was around 2 yards per carry in week one, but still behind this offensive line and, against the Minnesota D-line that I think really struggled in week one. There's some questions, especially from the interior. I think the Colts would be wise. They didn't stick with it enough, admittedly. Frank Reich has said in week one. I expect him to stick with that a little bit more here on Sunday.
Yeah, it's a tragedy with Marlon Mack and that Achilles injury. I hate to see players go down. The nice thing out of that for the Colts, I think, could be he's in a contract year. Typically, he's probably going to play this out and go somewhere else. Now, with that injury, it's going to be tough for him to sign any long-term contract with another team. Do you think the Colts have an advantage here of him already being in the system, maybe getting him for a 1-year low-money prove-it deal?
Yeah, I actually do. I mean, and like you said, just absolutely feel awful for the kid. I mean, he's seems like just a great guy. I think he's handled the Jonathan Taylor draft pick very well. Had a really nice start to the game on Sunday and a good training camp. And now when you think about running backs, and again, you guys know this, that there's really one major payday probably in your career, especially when you compare it to other positions.
Yep.
And for some guys, they don't even get to that 1 second contract. It's just play out your rookie contract, and that's really it. And Mack was heading towards, I think, a nice second contract. Had a 1,000-yard season last year, stayed pretty healthy, played 14 games. But to tear an Achilles, yeah, I'll be very interested to see what the market looks like. I do think it improves the chances of him coming back. He's very young. He'll turn 25 the first week of March next year. So, I mean, that's very young for a guy going into his second contract. So that's a benefit that he does have. But yeah, I think there is a chance, a better chance that he would come back here than if he would have played out this season. And you've just got to pass the torch on to Jonathan Taylor.
That's why I mentioned kind of the 1-year contract, because he's so young. He'd still be 26 entering, on his next team and for a bigger contract if he can come back, kind of be that second, 1B or 2A back for him. So let's focus in here for a minute just on the matchup here this Sunday in Indianapolis. What do you think your chances are, for winning that game?
Yeah, I mean, the spread's what? Colts by 3, I think last I saw. I mean, that seems to be somewhat accurate. Before the start of the season, I thought I had the Colts going 10-6, and I had this as a loss. I'm pretty high on Minnesota. I don't know what happened really in week 1. I'm sure I'm not, breaking any news there, but I do think looking back at that game against the Packers, it seems like the D-line interior wise is a bit of a concern, and the Colts' strength theoretically is this offensive line and the ability to, pound it. And we didn't see, I think, enough of that out of them week 1. The running backs were actually under 4 yards per carry, which again is something that I didn't expect against a Jacksonville team that has questions about their D-line. So I see it being a really competitive game, though. I mean, I'm not expecting the same Mike Zimmer defensive performance like we saw in the opener by any means. I'm going with the Colts in a very close game. But still, the Colts struggled early in the first half, stopping the run last week. If they let, Cook and Madison get going, it's a defense that struggles against the pass, lets up way too many quick rhythm throws, which Kirk Cousins can just eat up. And I think it'll be a very, very good game, and two, clearly desperate teams that, even though there's an extra playoff spot up for grabs, starting 0-2 is, especially with, at least for the Colts, you would think kind of an easier start to the schedule. That'd be absolutely crushing.
Well, great. Yeah, I look forward to watching the game, and good luck to your team. Hopefully the Vikings can prevail, because an 0-2 start is not a good outlook on the season, especially for these two teams who a lot of teams, had 10-6 respectively. So I appreciate you coming on, Kevin. Hopefully we here at Twist can have you on anything Colts all the time. So
awesome. Thanks for having me, Mike. I enjoyed it.
You can find Kevin again on Twitter at kbowman1070. Also check him out at 1075thefan.com. The Fan's Kevin's Corner is his podcast. So thanks again, Kevin, and we will chat with you soon.
Awesome.
All right. Well, that was Kevin Bowen, and that is the Vikings-Colts matchup.
All right, Twist Nation, it is back to our regularly scheduled programming where we get into the Week 1 NFL recap.
All right. Thank you, Tevin, and thank you, Kevin Bowen. He's our new Colts guy.
Nice.
He did a great job. So
yeah, I like that.
So we got a week down.
Yeah.
Fuck, we got a game here in about 13, 14 minutes.
Nice.
What are some takeaways that you took from 1 week back of the NFL?
In 2020, in the COVID universe we live in, continuity wins. I thought the teams that looked the best were the teams that had the most coming back from the previous year. The Saints, the Seahawks, the Packers, the Chiefs, the Ravens, all the teams that pretty much brought all their guys back were the teams that looked the best. The teams that you can tell could have used the preseason, that have good players, but could have used the preseason, Tampa Bay with all their new people, the Vikings with 150 new draft picks, all these other, the Colts, we just ended the interview.
Yeah.
All these teams that brought in high-profile new players or a lot of rookies could have used the preseason, so continuity wins.
Yeah, I 100% agree, because you look at the top teams, even the top quarterbacks all came out firing.
Yeah.
That first game was the Chiefs-Texans, and Patty Mahomes looked just like Patty Mahomes.
Mm-hmm.
Lamar Jackson looked just like Lamar Jackson. I think the nice thing was, you heard all this Kyler Murray hype. You and me both got him in money leagues.
Yep.
And he comes out and he shines. I mean, he had a hell of a season last year, but to come out with his new toy and feed his new toy, it was just good. I was a little thrown after the Chiefs-Texans game. Mm-hmm. Their viewership's down.
Yeah.
I mean, it's down all over the place. And I think for that game, they really wanted to show we're a unified front, and they did all this stuff, and it's like, okay, this is different. And then it was raining, so the play to me, and it wasn't just all the unification and stuff like that. It was more, how's the game going to look without training camp and preseason, and well, they had training camp, preseason more. And it was sloppy, but I think it was because of the rain, and they still did stuff. And then we get Sunday and all the games, and it was football. You don't even know there's nobody in the stands until they back out. And then it's like, oh, shit, yeah, there's nobody here. So, yeah, my biggest takeaway was I'm just happy football's back.
Yeah.
It's fun.
It was great to be a part of it. It was great to have it back. And like you said, once we got into the Sunday night game, you get the noon game, the 3 game over with. You get into that night game, and it's like, it's back to the way it was.
Yeah, the Cowboys and the Rams.
And you start looking
I was back home.
Yeah, you start looking at
I had
your
the
fantasy.
TV. Yep,
You start looking at fantasy and like, okay, what do I need to have happen? It's just like a year ago, and it's like Corona never happened.
Yeah, it was great. Yeah, no, Monday Night Football, I'm not a fan of that 9:30 game.
No, and I'm glad. I mean, that's a one-time thing.
I know,
and I'm
I
glad
know.
it was, because it's like, wait a second. When they first did it, like the first game started at like 5.
Yep.
So the second game was starting at 8:30. But
Yep.
it's like, I'm laying in bed for the entire second game, just trying to fight to stay awake for as much of it as I can.
I'm not watching it. I didn't even have anybody playing,
But
so
I just you want to soak it all up.
I get it.
Yeah.
But it was week 1.
Yeah.
Well, good.
All right, now we will move on to the Thursday night football extravaganza featuring the Browns and the Bengals.
Yeah, we're about an hour away. Are you excited? I mean, typically in years past, you say Browns Bengals on primetime, and I'm watching a rerun of ER or something like. But this year's a little different. They got the Burrow.
Yeah, I'm excited about both teams in different ways because I love stories. I want to see Burrow be the next Boomer Esiason, that quarterback for the Bengals, that you can have hope in them, because they are one of those snake bitten franchises that no matter what happens, I mean, you get Marv Lewis and they're in the playoffs, they're doing this, but they're never winning. And on the other hand, the Browns, it's like, on one hand, you want to see them do well, because I don't think Baker Mayfield's a bad kid. He's not a bad guy. But at the same time, it's like, how many flipping quarterbacks and how many coaches are you guys going to go through before you get this right?
Yep.
It's like Jerome Bettis said when talking about AB. He said over and over again, if everywhere you go it smells like shit, you might want to check the bottom of your shoes. And it seems it's like that with the Browns, that no matter what happens, no matter who you bring in, they just can't succeed. And we're going to get into the wide receiver situation later, but it's like, no matter what happens, like at some point, something's got to pan out for these teams in Ohio.
Does it? I mean, LeBron, my boy, he went there and basically he was the saving grace. But yeah, it's the matchup of the 2 number 1 overall picks. Baker's in his third year. His rookie season was his best season.
Yeah.
And he's basically just gone downhill ever since. I love him. I think Manziel left this tarnished taste in the Browns fans' mouth, and he came in and he played well, and he's just a winner. We've talked about this on the show before. He's a winner everywhere he's gone, and I do think he's a good player. I do tend to like Burrow better.
Yeah.
I don't like that he's, your age damn near coming in as a rookie. But as far as, I watched a little bit of that game, and at the end of it, they're driving down and he doesn't look like a rookie.
No.
He looks like somebody that I'm hopping on the back and taking a ride with him. And like the national championship game. I mean, it was just incredible. So he's brought that. It's translated already to the NFL. It was kind of funny watching his white slow ass run for a 24-yard design touchdown run.
That's when his age showed up. And by the way, we call that seasoned. We don't call that old.
Okay. Gotcha. No, so it is exciting. I'm looking forward to getting back and watching some pizza and checking out the second half.
You going to watch pizza?
Getting pizza.
Got it. Okay.
For fuck's sake, Greg. Who do you got?
Tonight?
Yeah.
I'm going with the Bengals.
Are you?
Yeah.
I'm going with the Browns.
I don't want to see either team fall flat on their face. I want to see a good game, and I want hope at the end for both teams. I don't think they're both going to make the playoffs or anything like that. I don't even think the Bengals even care if they make the playoffs. I think the Bengals want to win 6 games and be competitive in the other 10.
Sure, they have a lot of young talent,
Yeah.
so they don't need, they're not going to win a lot of games. Well, I do have a question for Twist Nation and for Greg and Tevin maybe. So do I start Kareem Hunt or David Johnson, who Houston plays Baltimore? Now, David Johnson doesn't have a backup. Duke Johnson's out. So basically it's his workload. I know Baltimore's defense is good, but Kareem Hunt went for 77 yards rushing. I don't know what Chubb had. So they did rush. So I don't think Baltimore should scare me enough to be like, don't play him. But at the same time, Cincy's run defense is horrible. And I'm just I'm perplexed. I don't know what to do.
I think that they're going to try to fill us with a lot of Baker Mayfield early and often. I would go Johnson just because this isn't, I mean, it's still a great Ravens defense, but it's not the Ravens defense of 10, 15 years ago. And I think that Lamar Jackson keeps every offense honest. So I think, Kyler Murray is going to keep every offense, honest. And wait,
what the fuck?
I'm trying to think of quarterback. Deshaun Watson. Sorry.
Good
I'm
God.
thinking of all these running quarterbacks. I think that because he got a running quarterback, a quarterback who can open it up, I think that Johnson's going to get his, and I think he's going to do just fine.
I think I kept him in there. I put Kareem in early. I'm not a big advocate of playing Thursday night guys. They just always screw me.
Yeah.
And then if you're screwed, it's like you got 4.2 points on third. Like, why the fuck did I play him? Like, it's just. So I do think I have DJ in.
I also named every black quarterback in the NFL right now that runs before I finally got to Deshaun Watson and like Kyler Murray, Lamar Jackson. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, because there's the only white running back that runs and it's good is Josh Allen. I mean, did you see Kirk Cousins run against your Green Bay Packers?
No.
Well, he did twice,
but
it was horrible to watch.
Yeah.
I mean, even Burrow, he's mobile, but I mean, I've said this before on this show. White people, we're just not very athletic.
No.
So,
it's ugly.
Yeah. So tune in after Twist to some Thursday Night Football.
And we will stick with the predictions segment theme and hit you with an overall Week 2 NFL pickup. Who you got?
I'm excited to hear what the scores were for last week. I think I did pretty good.
All right. You didn't.
What?
After week 1,
I should have kept my own list.
I have the whole thing right here.
Yeah, I know, but I don't know if I trust you. You said I didn't do good. I won the belt last year.
We have me, GBG, at 4-1.
Oh, see, this is bullshit. You give him his own job and he's fucking cheating at it.
You can also go back and watch the show if you want.
I will.
We also we have Matt, who's tied with Mike at 2 wins, 3 losses.
Well, yeah, I mean the Vikes.
Yep. You see, that's where you guys got killed.
Yeah.
All right, on to this week. And this week we are picking 3 games and then the Viking game and the Packer game. So 3 games where I picked it because I like the spread.
All right.
We have the Falcons at the Cowboys. The Cowboys are 4.5-point favorites. Who do you like?
Oh, the Cowboys since you already got Benzi's picks, right?
Correct.
Let me hear his.
He took the Falcons plus 4.5. I did it right now. I just circled it. I took the Cowboys minus 4.5.
So the Cowboys are favored. So Greg and I were having this conversation, and this is where I immediately wanted to take back taking San Francisco last week. But he explained that why do you have to take the points if Atlanta's the underdog? You don't.
Atlanta's the underdog, so they're given points.
Okay.
They get 4.5 points. The best way to look at this, folks, and I get it, if the final score is Cowboys 13, Falcons 10, you have to add 4.5 points to the Falcons because they're 4.5-point underdogs, so they would technically win in Vegas.
Even though losing.
Correct. That's, yeah. So they get the points. So they would win 14.5 to 13 because you're giving them the 4.5 points.
I'm looking forward to this game. Leighton Vander Esch went down for the Cowboys. I liked the Cowboys defense.
Did you see Stan Lee's out or Sean Lee?
Yep.
Yeah.
So they're a little depleted there, and hell, Matt Ryan threw 100-yard or 3 different receivers caught 100 yards from Matt Ryan. So that they don't have a lick of defense either. I'm going to go with the Cowboys, though.
Mike is taking the Cowboys and giving the points.
Yep.
Next game, we have the Panthers at the Buccaneers. The Buccaneers are 7.5-point favorites.
Ooh, 7.5, huh? They got a lot of injuries down. I'm going to go with the Bucs, though.
You're taking the Bucs?
Yeah. Teddy, I don't have Teddy doing much. I'll take the I'll take the Bucks.
Matt also took the Buccaneers. I'm taking the Panthers. Give me the 7.5.
Good.
It's a lot of points. Next game is the Chiefs at the Chargers.
Chiefs.
The Chiefs are 8.5-point favorites. I will agree with that. All three of us took the Chiefs. 8.5. That's a lot of. It's a big number in Vegas.
Yeah, whatever.
Next game, the Lions at the Green Bay Packers. The Packers are 5.5-point favorites. Matt took the Lions.
I'll take the Packers.
Mike's taking the Packers. I am also taking the Packers, of course.
Weird.
Last game, the Vikings at the Colts. The Colts are 3-point favorites.
Yeah, I'm taking the Vikes.
Mike's taking the Vikes. Matt is taking the Vikes. Greg
taking the Colts.
I'll take the Colts. This game just screams push.
Yeah, it does.
3 points. This is going to end up like 23-20. It's going to be a push.
Maybe. I don't know. We'll see. I'm excited to see how both teams rebound. You know, again, I've been high on the Colts for a while. I obviously want to see them lose and burn. But yeah, I mean, it's a must win for both teams. You can't go down 0-2.
I think you're going to get a good test of who the Vikings secondary is because they're playing against a traditional pocket passer.
Yep.
You're not going to get that Aaron Rodgers where he's trying to fuck with you and running out, scrambling. Phillip Rivers is Tom Brady. They're going to sit there like a statue and pick you apart. And if you can stick with your wide receiver on defense, you got a chance.
Tevin, did Greg just say fuck?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah,
he
did.
God.
So we can add that to his tally.
Yeah, wow. Unbelievable. Okay, so there's our pick'ems. Greg will continue to cheat, and he'll probably be up by 14 games, even though there's not that many.
All right, Twist Nation, it is the battle of elite football minds. We are hitting you with the fantasy football update.
Well, for Tevin's sake, he had to play Sir Miking over here. It wasn't as close as GBG and Benzi's game, so I took Tevin down 101.42 to 80.3.
Yeah, my team's not good.
Well, it doesn't help that Can't Guard Mike got you 1.7.
Yeah.
You know, you did have some. Mixon had a slow night for you. Mike Evans luckily didn't play, but he did get a touchdown. So we're going to be getting into that in 1 second. We're going to be doing the bench draft. But my team, they did well. Now, GBG versus Benz. GBG won 93 points. Benz lost at 92.94.
That's 0.06 for all of you keeping score at home.
0.06 in week 1.
Nice.
Pulls it off on a Monday night. Derrick Henry, 13.1 point performance. So Green Bay Greg and Sir Miking here are 1-0. Tevin and Green Bay Greg will face off next week. This week. Fuck off, man. And me and Benz are playing.
There it
and
is,
I'm
right
actually
on the board.
There it is.
I like how Tevin put himself at 0. I would have put Benz there. He didn't show up tonight.
Yeah, you know what? Next time I'll move him down. But I figure, since I scored 88 points, it's only right.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, lowest at the bottom, lowest points. There's our squad there up on the part of our squad.
Yeah. Still looks good.
Looks fine.
Yeah.
So that's the update. This week, again, it's Green Bay Greg and Tevin and myself and Benzie, and I'll see you next week.
Bring it.
Mother trucker. Your dad can't even believe you said fuck.
I know.
He just disowned you.
I know.
And now it is time for the game of the week.
We're doing the game in 1 second. We have to do our fantasy bench draft.
Yeah, the problem is that every now and again, for those of you listening, a guy could get hurt, and instead of us trying to track each other down and trying to find a guy, if a guy gets hurt the day or two before the game, or we got bye weeks coming up, we're all going to draft one replacement player at each position. So in the case of we didn't know if Mike Evans was going to play and we're trying to get a hold of Tevin before game time, if Mike Evans ends up not playing, Tevin's wide receiver replacement would just get that spot, and that also works for bye weeks.
Right. So we're going to do one quarterback, one running back, one wide receiver, and 1 tight end.
Correct.
So what was the order, GBG, of the draft, the twist draft?
It went you, then Matt, then me, then Tevin.
Okay, so I'm going to be up first. Who was that again? I wasn't listening. What's new?
You, Matt, me, Tevin. So you're first, then Matt.
So I'm trying to look up Matt's deal here. He sent us, okay, here we go. Those are his 4, huh? He has Dallas Goedert over Ertz, huh?
Yeah.
Weird.
He should have showed up.
So let me pull up my deal real quick here. We're going to go players. Sorry, I'm very less prepared than last time. I'm going tight end because I have to. Kittle is hurt. Remember I asked you?
Yeah.
Oh, I haven't heard anything.
Well, no, I didn't see it. I looked it up after you and I were talking. Won the 6 times today.
Yeah, we talked a lot today. So Kelsey, Kittle, Andrews, and Waller are out. I'm going to take Hunter Henry first overall.
Nice. All right. And who's Matt going to take?
Matt is going to take. Let's see here. Let me look at his team. I don't want to screw him over. I'll see what his. Damn it, Mike. All right, Benzie. So he's probably going to take a receiver here. We'll go the top of his board, Allen Robinson.
All right. I will take Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
Wow. No?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's good. That's a hell of a backup there, Greg.
Yep. And then Tevin's got back-to-back picks.
All right. I have no idea who has been drafted, so bear with me. How are we feeling about Josh Jacobs? Has he been drafted?
Josh Jacobs is on Benzie's team.
All right. Then we're going to go. What about Calvin Ridley?
Calvin Ridley's available.
Put him down on my team for the winning team.
So there he is at your backup receiver. Now you got running back, quarterback,
Tight end.
tight end.
Tight end.
Available running backs are Kamara, Drake, Moser.
Throw me Kamara. Throw me Kamara.
There he is. All right, GBG.
All right. I put a lot of thought into this. Lamar Jackson's bye week is week 8, and the Packers are playing the Vikings week 8. I'm taking Aaron Rodgers.
Good God. All right, so Ben's, and I didn't look at, so we will have to go back if for some reason, this is mostly for injury stuff. If a bye week doesn't align with who we picked, we'll just drop them and swap them.
Yep.
Ooh, I like that. Drop them and swap them. So we will give Nick Chubb is Benzie's number 1 on his board. And now I have back-to-backs.
Yep.
So I am going to go Russell Wilson. And let me just take a quick peek here at running backs. I was going to ask you, Greg, but you said Raheem Mostert, and that just...
Those are the available guys.
Yeah, he's horrible.
Well, I picked the guys on ESPN's list that were the next best available.
Clyde Edwards, Mostert. I'm going to take my boy for the Colts.
You're taking my boy JT?
JT, give me JT, y'all. I'm taking him. I'm riding him on a few teams this year.
Go Bucky.
All right.
Benzie.
So Benzie, he is going to take, I took Russell Wilson. He had Josh Allen.
Oh, wow. Not even on my list.
As his number 2. Yep, that was his number 2, so that's who he gets.
All right. I'm going to take Juju Smith-Schuster.
He's fucking hurt right now.
He's questionable. I don't need him right now.
Okay.
He's going to be fine.
All right, quarterback, tight end for your last 2 bench slots, Tevin.
All right, we're going to go Evan Ingram for tight end. And then Mr. Irrelevant for quarterback, Matt Ryan.
Matt Ryan. Perfect. GBG.
Zach Ertz.
And then Jonnu Smith is his second. It was Evan Ingram, then Jonnu Smith. Now, for my wide receiver to end it, just hop on here. We'll go back. We will go to wide receivers. We will go all. All right. So gone. Holy shit. There ain't much.
You gonna take your boy Thielen?
There ain't much left. Oh yeah, he ain't there. Fuck it. Thanks, Thielen. All right. There's the bench draft.
I put way too much thought into this.
Appreciate it.
Yep. All right.
Audio Jungle.
All right, now it is game time.
Game time.
All right, Twist Nation. Well, typically when one of the other hosts is gone, I make a game just to stump them. But this week we're getting Tevin involved,
Yes,
and
sir.
this isn't a name as your ringer first. You both get a chance because this game is closest to the pin. Championships edition.
Ooh.
All right. So 12 questions. The first team, the Los Angeles Lakers. Who can get closest to the pin with how many championships the Lakers have had?
Oof.
Tevin, kick it off.
I believe it's 18.
See, I was thinking 14.
Well, it's a draw because it's 16. Unbelievable. Wow. So, Doge.
Doge gets a point.
There he is back
he is.
there.
Didn't think it was possible, but Doge got a point.
Cardboard Doge got a point on closest to the pin. This is the first time in Twist history. The Boston Celtics.
21.
I'm going to say 18.
Tevin is correct. It is 17. The Atlanta Hawks. Oh, they're not all.
We're going back to ABA.
The Atlanta Hawks. Tevin, you got it right, so you can go first.
Atlanta Hawks. Jeez. I'm going to say 5.
3.
1. Greg got it. All right, so we got a 3-way tie. It's Doge, GBG, and Tevin all tied at 1. GBG got it right, so he gets to pick closest to the pin for championships for the Detroit Pistons.
2.
See, the problem with all of these teams won championships before I was around to witness.
You're like 17 years old.
So 2. I'm gonna go with 3 because I think 2 is right.
Right on the nose, Tevin.
Oh, let's
3. Oh, right on the nose. Hole in 1.
There it is.
Closest to the pin. All right, Tevin. How many championships do the 49ers have? Switch into the pigskin.
49ers have 4.
GBG.
I think that's right. I'm going to go 3.
Wow, they have 5. Tevin with the point. Closest to the pin. Cowboys, Tevin.
Cowboys have 5.
Is it 5? Well, I can't. I don't think it's 6. I'm going to say 4.
We got another hole in 1. Tevin. Wow, the Kansas City Chiefs, Tevin.
Kansas City Chiefs. I'm gonna go with 3. Wait. Now that I say it, it sounds too much, but we'll stick with it.
He's saying 3. The smart thing would be to go over, but I'm going to say 2. I think it's only 2.
We got a hole in 1, and it's GBG. That's his second hole in 1 on his resume. He has a real one as well.
Do you really?
Hole in 1 on a par 4.
Look at you. You're an athlete.
Yeah. Well, it used to be. I'm a little old now.
All right, so Tevin has 4. Green Bay Greg just got back on the board with his second, and Cardboard Doge has 1. 5 questions remaining. Greg, the Eagles of Philadelphia.
1.
Tevin?
I'll just say 2.
Another hole in 1 for Green Bay Greg. All right, down by 1 with 4 to go. We're switching over to baseball. Greg, the Yankees.
23.
Is it that many? Damn. I'll just say I'm gonna go 21.
Oh, you should have gone the other way.
The other
The
way?
fact that he said 23 was such he fucking dropped his pen.
Yeah.
Look at his head.
He dropped the mic. I thought that was
It's
correct.
27.
Oh,
so
it's that many.
Gee.
yeah, so if you're gonna do all that shit, get a hole in one.
Yeah,
you did get it right and you did tie it up. But good God, have some class, man. All right, Greg, the Red Sox.
Oh. 5.
Tevin?
I think that's low.
Jeez, I was gonna go way more. So we're gonna go 8.
It's 9. Tevin takes the lead with 2 to go. Tevin, you can close it out right here. The Dodgers.
The Dodgers. I'm gonna say they only have 5.
7.
Hole in one for Tevin.
Draw.
6.
All right, so we have 1 to go, and Tevin is up by 1. Green Bay, Greg,
See, I could
tie.
have just went 6, but I'm trying to be cocky now. I'm trying
All right,
to nail it.
Cubs, Tevin.
The Cubs. They just have 1.
I'm going over, so I'm going to say 2 because they had more since.
Yeah, they have 3.
See, damn.
All right, so we're at a tie right now. The Minnesota Twins.
I go first, right?
Right.
So that's 1, 2, 3. It's either 3 or 4. I'm going to say 4.
Tevin?
I'm gonna say 3 then.
It's 2, 87 and 91.
What about the 60s?
Tevin, the Minnesota man for the winner.
That is correct. And
Good shit.
I thought they won one in the 60s. I guess not.
No, 87, 91.
you call yourself a Twins fan?
I'm the only one in this room or on this show right now that's old enough to remember the 87 one.
That's definitely true. And now we will segue into the twist topics of the week.
All right, time for your twist topics of the week. Topic number 1, Greg. Big Ten football is back. It's back.
That's why I wore the Badger gear.
Was it too little, too late, though?
You know, I was trying to come up with a funny analogy about this, and
I bet you were.
So it's like the Big Ten is like, this group of close friends at a high school, and they get invited to a party, and they initially don't want to go because it's like, well, it's a high school party. And in leading up to it, they find out, well, the parents aren't going to be home, and there's going to be college kids there. And now they all want to go to the party, and everyone else who's already been like ready to go and already there, like, where the hell have you been? We've known this the whole time.
Yeah.
The Big Ten is they are so arrogant that they wanted to be the first to back away so they could tell all of their supporters and they could tell all of their fans, hey, look, we put our kids first. And then everyone else, the ACC, the SEC, the Big 12, they're playing and they're having fun. They're doing well and tests aren't going crazy. People aren't testing out of the, off the wall for Corona. That the Big Ten's like, we should have kind of signed up for this party a little earlier. So it's not too little too late. There's Dabo, Sweeney, and everyone else already said, hey, they're going to have enough games in to be invited to the playoff. But as far as reputation, it's going to take a long time to get that back.
Yeah, I don't even know if I'm going to watch. I'm kidding. I'm going to. This was going to be my rant if we did a rant segment. So the crazy thing to me was that they talked about, well, we said we wanted to just, this changes all the time. Mm-hmm. Well, now we can test these kids every day. It's like you could have fucking tested them every day when you said, no, we're not going to play.
When you say things change every day, why the hell were you making your decision 5 weeks before you had to?
Well, and that's the thing. They decided to end it.
Yeah.
It wasn't like we're postponing.
Yeah.
They said canceling.
Yep.
We're canceling.
And then they started talking spring football, and everyone's like, that's just flipping crazy.
Yeah, who is the Big Ten guy, that Kevin Warren?
Yes.
He needs to be fired.
Yeah.
I hate to say it because he was a Viking.
Yeah.
In our front office. He's got to go.
Yeah.
He's a man of faith. He's on KFAN, who we get a lot of the hosts on this show. But you're going to need prayer.
Yeah.
To keep your job.
And the reason why this is getting, thrown under, is because of one thing. according to my high school kid analogy, the reason why they're getting invited back with open arms is because part of that group had a couple of really cool players. They had like the quarterback of the football team and the head running back.
Yeah.
Because what they want right now is they want Ohio State. They don't care about Minnesota, Wisconsin, Penn State. They want Ohio State so they can legitimately say whoever wins the national championship got to play Ohio State, or Ohio State was part of the process. That's the only reason why this is going in so smooth.
Yeah. Twist topic number 2. Sources say the Browns are shopping Odell Beckham Jr. Is this a good move? And where's a good landing spot, if it's true?
I don't think it's true, but if it is, I don't know where a good landing spot is. I don't see him. The thing about what I saw last week wasn't that he wasn't, involved in the game. He was dropping passes that were thrown and hit him in the hands.
His fault, yeah.
I don't care if you're Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, Drew Brees, or Tom Brady. You don't want to throw to a guy that you don't have confidence in. Aaron Rodgers would rather, because I know obviously the Packers are the first team anyone thinks of when it's like, okay, they need a wide receiver. Aaron Rodgers would rather throw the ball to Lazard or MVS, guys who don't have attitudes, than a guy who can, like Odell, with his $15 million a year contract, dropping balls. I don't know who wants him or who would want him.
Yeah, I think this is more Odell's agent. Is the source. Trying to see who's out there and what he can't stay in one place too long.
Exactly.
He needs to be nurtured and have his ego stroked. Mm-hmm. And this is an opportunity for just to hear it.
Yeah.
Even if he doesn't go anywhere, he just wants to hear his name in the news.
Mm-hmm.
Other than he likes to get shit on. And, he needs that ego stroked right now.
Yeah.
Because his name, and he had a shitty game.
Yeah.
Pardon my pun. Don't pardon it. I did it on purpose.
Yeah, you did.
Question number 3. Is the criticism warranted for Alejandro Villanueva changing the name on his helmet? Got a little backstory here.
Okay. First of all, Villanueva for the Steelers is a retired airborne ranger. And when the Steelers organization said that as a team they were going to have the name of Antoine Rose Jr. on the back of their helmets. Now, Antoine Rose Jr. was Pittsburgh kid who was shot and killed by police. Now, this is the GBG 2 cents that I'm going to throw in here. He was shot by police after being involved in a fatal drive-by shooting where he was in the car and the police chased him down, and he was then shot by the police. Now, Villanueva, a retired airborne ranger, put the name of Alvin Cash on the back of his helmet, who was a highly decorated Iraqi war veteran and was posthumously given a lot of awards, and Villanueva wanted to give him some credit. So is it right that he's getting criticism? No, it's a bunch of bullshit. If you want to put the name, whatever name you want to put on the back of your helmet, he has the right to put whatever name he wants to on the back of his. You want to put an army buddy on the back of yours that's out defending our freedom, saving lives in Iraq, then go ahead. Sorry, we weren't kind of a rant session. I just went off on one.
That was GBG show, not Twist. Fantastic. No, he's an Army Ranger.
Yeah.
I think it's phenomenal that he did it. Mm-hmm. And his team and his coach and everybody supported him.
Mm-hmm.
So good for you.
And he went.
It wasn't like, screw this kid who got shot by the cops. That's not what he said. He goes, no, I'm going to support something that I believe in.
And he went to Tomlin before the game. So it's not like he did it and wrote it in himself. He asked Tomlin for permission.
Yeah,
and Tomlin said, I support your right to do what you feel is right.
And that's how you got to do it. And if we're going to stand with each other and be united and do all that, it can't be one-sided. Mm-hmm. You have to take his opinion and be like, look, this is what he wants to stand up for.
Yeah.
Not everybody has to kneel. Some can stand because they're proud.
And just for the record,
and go both ways.
I looked up what Antoine Rose Jr. was involved in. Villanueva never brought him up. Never said, no, I support this guy and not this guy. That's GBG. That's not Villanueva.
Right.
I had to look it up to find out who this kid was. So Villanueva didn't throw anyone under the bus. He didn't throw anyone's name in the mud. He just said, I want to promote this guy.
Good. So the Clippers were bounced.
Yeah, they were.
Were they just overhyped or were they just outmatched?
I don't want to be on a team coached by Doc Rivers. There's been 12.
He's got a ship.
There's been 12 situations in the NBA playoffs where a team was up 3-1 and they lost.
Please tell me you're not. It's his fault.
3 of those were coached by Doc Rivers. It's not
Paul George.
No, I was being partially facetious. No, I don't think they're
what?
facetious.
Oh.
I don't think they're overhyped. I think that I don't know. I just think that it was one of those situations where they just came across a hotter team.
Right.
It happens. It happened to the Bucks throughout the whole season. The Bucks were a better team, and Miami just took them behind the woodshed and beat them. Now, the Clippers were up 3-1. I think that the difference is Mike Malone and the rest of his boys in Denver just said, hey, we're not out of this yet. And just one game after another. And once you get one, you start believing a little more. But no, let's give Denver some credit.
I heard a great point earlier today, and it was that they were so ramped up all season long about an LA versus an LA matchup.
Yeah.
And that they had their target set on one team, and that was the Lakers. And so even if they would have won this game and then, let's say, beat the Lakers, I think they would have probably lost the championship because it would have been over. That would have been their championship, the Western Conference final. You know, so I like it because I'm a LeBron fan. You know, I'm scared of Kawhi Leonard.
Yeah.
You know, he's done it to my boy LBJ when he was a Spur.
Yep.
And it was scary because I don't like to see people who are kind of the kryptonite to LeBron Superman. And Kawhi has just been that in the past.
Yep.
So, yeah, I was excited. I think Denver's a good team, and they've, you know, ousted two pretty good series. I didn't see them going past the Jazz.
No, exactly.
You know, so they've came this far. I think they're 6-0 in elimination games.
Yeah.
So that's crazy.
Yeah.
Jamal Murray's playing out of his mind. What's his nuts? The big white Russian guy.
Jokic.
Yeah, Jokic. The Joker is playing crazy too. I just don't think it's going to be enough to get past my Lakers.
No, I don't think so either, but they're fun to watch.
Yeah. No, it'll be good.
Yep.
So a news story, Maya Moore, former Lynx, maybe current Lynx, not quite sure, but she married the man she freed in prison. Greg,
so
is this the best love story of all time?
I think so. This is
Let's
actually.
hear just give us some backstory, Greg.
So, long story short, is Jonathan Erins was arrested in 1998 for burglary and assault at the age of 18. Now, I had to do a lot of investigating or reading into this, but apparently Jonathan Erins is a family friend of Maya Moore. So they've known each other for a really long time.
Oh, see, I did not know that.
Yeah. So because in the article, it referred to her godmother as being part of, or godfather, someone like that she would not blood be related to, but closely be related to, that was part of the initial trial where there was evidence that wasn't allowed in. Well, what Maya Moore essentially did was she took the last 8 months or so off of the WNBA.
2 years.
2 years. Okay, I'm sorry. So she took all this time off, and her main objective was to get this evidence brought back into court. Well, it was brought back in, and he was exonerated in March of 2020 and released on July 1st of 2020. And apparently, you know, the sparks started to flare when she was visiting him, and you know, and they just got married a few weeks ago with a private COVID-friendly ceremony.
She got dicked down real good.
20
years of abstinence was all just pent up and waiting for Maya.
I think that to answer your original question about it being a great love story, I just think it's cute. It's just cute.
You know, I would have thought it would have been the best love story of all time if there was no past history.
Oh,
if this was just something she had seen on Google, like this guy's been sitting in here, he's wrongly convicted, I'm going to give up everything. And then he got out and they fell in love. But no, she was doing it because she knew him. But good for her. I mean, she's the Michael Jordan of women's basketball.
Yes.
And she dropped her career for this. I've talked about this before when Kyrie Irving, you know, came out before the bubble and all this. And it's like, put up or shut up.
Yeah.
You know, if you want to actually do something, pull a Maya Moore.
Yep.
Go fucking do it.
Yep.
You know, and that's exactly what she did. And she's not making Kyrie money.
Yeah.
You know, she probably is working at Shopco right now.
Yep. No, it was a cool. I'm glad you asked me to look into this.
Yeah.
It was fun to read more about it.
Good.
So,
yeah, because some of them, they just need, you know, Twist Nation is stupid. They're dumb. They need backstory. So that's all I got for Twist Topics.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right, and we will put a pretty little bow on episode 40 with some final thoughts from the main man, GBG.
All right, thanks for the transition, Mike. My final thought for this week is exactly what we just talked about. read past the headlines. There's so many times in the news right now where whether it's on Facebook, CNN, and whatever site you want to go on, whether it's social media or mainstream media, that all people read is the stuff in bold. Read underneath. I would have never known more about Villanueva's story. I would have never known more about Maya Moore's story unless I really read the entire article. There are too many times when people read things and they see something and they see the word pedophilia, or they see the word, Black Lives Matter, or they see COVID, whatever's in the news right now, and no one ever reads past the headlines. So I encourage everyone to read past the headlines, look into the story, and then draw your opinion. Don't draw your opinion based on the topic sentence. Base your opinion based on the entire article. That's all I got.
Learn how to read. Episode 40 is in the books. D. McCash with that twist joint. We will see you next week. Next Thursday. Again.
Benzie's gonna
Thank
be
you, Doc Shannon. Thank you, Kevin Bowen. And thanks to Bricks Bowworks for coming back on as a sponsor as of next week.
Sports with a twist, no script. Legends coming through on the guest list. TC, Minnesota, land of the lakes. Boo, Green Bay. That's all I gotta say. Yelling skull with the woes, you know we don't play. We get wild every single day. We got our flaws, but we love our Saints. Twist Nation.